here we are. I'm Tom Osman, and this is Whatever Comes Next, the podcast where I explore the world of underground and independent music making. And on today's episode, I am talking with Thibault of French alternative rock four-piece Zir Pachet, who have just released their debut full-length record, U De Fas, on Influenza Records. Their album came out on Friday, just past. And the reason why I'm just saying Thibault, his first name, is because I, as mentioned at the beginning of this interview, feel that when I'm talking to continental European bands, I have the capacity to completely get their names wrong. And I did not ask him how to pronounce his last name. So you can see for yourself if you go and look at the band on Bandcamp, they all have very French names. So rather than butchering them, I'm just saying Thibault. Anyway, this was, as I also mentioned in the interview, one of these situations where the promo for the album came across my path. I had a quick listen to it. I thought this is exactly the kind of music that I like. We talk about Sonic Youth in the interview. We talk about Fugazi. We talk about At the Drive-In. I think these are all relevant reference points to get a taste for the music. So if you like that kind of thing, as I do, then I think you should definitely like the record and you should check it out. So as I say, the album's out at the moment. You can check it out on Spotify if you'd like to. You can go and check it out on Bandcamp. The band is on Instagram and Facebook, although Thibault says that they don't really use Facebook that much. But if you are on Facebook and you go to the band there, you can get a Linktree link that will have references to everything regarding the band. They had an EP out previously, and they are, I believe, already thinking about working on new material. They did do a show for like a release party show back on, I think it would have been Friday or Saturday. I don't think they have any more live shows lined up, but keep track of them through the various channels I mentioned. You can also follow Influenza Records for updates of what's going on. If you would like a physical copy of the album, you can buy it on CD from the band directly, or you can go to Influenza Records. I'll put links in the description. And other than that, yeah, we, as well as talking about the album and talking about the origins of the band, talking about some of their influences, we do get into a bit of talking about the music business and the kind of financial situation for independent bands making music in France. And we even talk about Frank Zappa. So with all of that said, I'm going to play a track from the album at the end. You're going to hear a little clip in a moment, and you can follow me at Tom Osman Sounds. You can go to my website, tomosmansounds.com, to see what I'm doing with my own music. And that is everything for now. So, Thibault of Zir Pachet, take it away.
The ocean is bubbling like a bottle of beer.
So I feel like this interview is going to be filled with me mispronouncing names. How should I say your name? Thibault?
Thibault.
Thibault.
Just imagine Tibo.
Thank you. That's the kind of recommendation I need. That's good. I like that. Thank you. Well, Thibault, it's a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you as well, Tom. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, no, I mean, thanks a lot for joining me. You know, I get sent a lot of different promo material, and as soon as I heard your forthcoming album, I instantly thought I definitely want to cover this because this is right up my street. So
that's very nice of you. Thank you very much.
And following on from my previous statement about mispronouncing names, Zir Pachet?
Well, in fact, it's a very important day for our career because it's the first time that we're speaking in English about our project. So we never wondered about how it should be pronounced in English. I would say instinctively Zir Pachet, but feel free to pronounce it Zir Packet or...
If you tell me Zir Pachet, I will say Zir Pachet.
Okay, say Zir Pachet or Zir Pachet. Pachet.
And is there a meaning to it in French?
No, not in French. In fact, Zir Pachet is antique Egyptian.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's not my idea. It's Julian's, who's our other guitarist. Zir is like a jar or a plate, and Pachet is one of the names of the goddess of chaos in antique Egypt. And yeah, so our band is quite the receptacle of the chaos created by the goddess of chaos.
I love it. That's a cool
Yeah.
origin story for a name. And I suppose, thinking about the style of the music, there is, I mean, I can see why, people would use the word chaotic because there is an element of that in the kind of, there's like a sort of a storm element, I suppose, to a lot of the
Yes,
music. But
absolutely.
underpinning all of that, you've got this very driving, impactful rhythm section. And another thing that I really appreciate as well, like in tracks like particularly, I would say Med Surf,
Hmm.
you have these elements that come in that are really melodic in
Hmm.
amongst all of the apparent chaos. So it's clearly very well constructed and very carefully constructed music. And I always think that when bands can create a sense of chaos without actually genuinely being chaotic, that's an impressive feat.
Hmm. Well, it's very interesting to have your feedback about that. It's true that all of what you said is really the result of a mix of influences. I guess if Julian was on a solo career, it will be only chaos.
Mhm.
And yet I have more the sense of melodies, and I would say that our rhythmic section, Ben and Val, really try to. They have a groove inputs. They're really thinking about this. They're trying to make things more efficient. Basically, Julian is really the guy who puts the impulse in the creativeness of the band.
Mm.
In fact, it's interesting that we work together because our job is more to channel a little bit his crazy creativeness, his hyper creativeness. So that's why that's the result you're listening to right now. It's really a collective work. It's really a teamwork, Zir Pachet, and it has been even more over a collective work in U De Fas, our forthcoming album, even more than for our previous EP. That was more Julian and I working and telling others you should do this and you should do that, and they had less input into it. And now we really developed more groove sections and groovy sections. We also paid attention on how efficient would be the songs for the listeners, and that's part of our collective dynamic.
And the EP that you mentioned, that was Contribution Zero from
Absolutely.
2021.
Yeah.
So I do want I want to go back into a bit of the history, and I want to talk a bit about more about the style. But maybe now that you've mentioned some of your bandmates, you could just clarify exactly who is in the band, because I've seen photos.
Okay.
I gather there's four of you, but I don't actually know who is who.
So we are a quartet. We have the exact same lineup as Metallica. So one rhythm guitar and singer, which is me. We have a lead guitar player, which is Julian, and a bass player, Valentin, and Val in English, it will be easier, and Ben, Benoit, who plays the drums. So we're the four of us, and we have already quite a long history because the starting point of the band was Julian and me meeting online, and we started playing together, and there were lots of changes in the lineups, and we settled the lineup in 2019, and that's where Zir Pachet came a little bit more serious.
So going back then to that origin of the two of you meeting, how far back is that then? Is that like 2018, 17, something like
2015.
that? 2015.
almost 10 years ago. Yeah, in fact, it's an interesting story because at that time I was not specifically looking for a band. I had a band already that was quite dying out, but for various reasons. But I was just on that forum, and I was looking for, I don't know, maybe buy a secondhand guitar or whatever. And I just saw the ad that Julian posted, and he was saying, "Hi guys, I'm looking for musicians to start a band, and my main influences are at the drive-in, so that already rang a first bell. Blood Brothers, that rang a second bell. Then I remember there was Brainiac that I didn't know at that time, but still now I know that it's a great band also. And especially he mentioned Polvo. Have you heard of Polvo? Do you know that band?
I know the name, but I can't remember why.
It's like Polvo is like Sonic Youth, but more underground.
Okay.
And it's the same style of as Sonic Youth, but probably more dissonant and more crazy, more experimental.
Yeah.
And I think there are like 20 or 30 people who know about Polvo in France. It's really an underground band from the US in the 90s. And I'm a huge fan of Polvo. And just because he mentioned his name, I sent him a message. I said, whoa, you know Polvo? Must be 20 people in France who know who have ever heard about Polvo, and just what's your favorite album? And he said, yeah, I'm a great fan of Polvo. And by the way, here are the riffs I recorded on my phone with my memo. And when I clicked on his memos and the few riffs he sent me, I was really that really rang a bell. I said to myself, this is exactly the kind of music I would like to play, but I cannot write these kinds of riffs. Because I'm more into melodic stuff, but I'm so crazy about Polvo. I say, yeah, okay, let's do a Polvo kind band, and that would be absolutely fantastic. So things started like this. We met the first time. We rehearsed just the two of us. We just jammed around with his riffs, and then we found a drummer who then vanished in nature. And I called my old friend Ben, who we had a band together when we were students a very long time ago. I said, oh, maybe we have this project. Are you interested? And he said, yeah, maybe. I don't know. And now, almost 10 years later, he's still there. So I guess he agreed with the project. And then we found Val. And then we arrived to 2018, 2019, where we really had our lineup. And we recorded songs, we recorded riffs on our own. There's one thing that is important to mention here is that it's part of the chaos of Zir Pachet. We are all living in different cities. We are only two of us, only Ben and Valentin live in Paris. I live in the south of France. Julien lives in Normandy. He used to live in Bordeaux. And so we are very used to remote work. And the story of the first EP is, we had 6 songs, I think, that we recorded with a garage band on our laptops, everybody recording his parts on his own. And I premixed the whole thing. Basically, the point here was just to keep a trace of it, to have a souvenir of what Zir Pachet was at that time. And even if the recording was quite poor, it was not really a problem. It's just to remember what we were doing at that time. And in fact, I started collecting the tracks that everybody was recording on their own. And I premixed the whole thing. I'm far from being a sound engineer, but the result was okay. And we sent it to a friend of a friend of a friend who was a sound engineer, and he worked on the project like for 2 days, and he made a nice mix, a nice mastering, and we thought it was quite nice. And then we sent it like this to a couple of labels in France, independent labels, and Influenza Records answered. They're the only ones who answered, and they said, "Oh, guys, I like this this EP, and we're going to release it for you." And that's how it started. But it's really a do-it-yourself EP, and we really with a very, very low budget. And then it was very encouraging because we had some press coverage that was quite encouraging. We got nice chronicles in great magazines in France. And then we continued working together, and the result is here, U De Fas, a few years later, which is different than Contribution Zero, because here we really went into a studio. We worked with a fantastic sound engineer who made an outstanding work with what we wanted to record, and what we wanted to lay out on a CD or on the platforms or whatever. And And that's it. It's really constant improving, but on a very slow process, you know. And we're taking things step after step, and there we are right now, about to release our first album, and we're very happy about that.
So, given, as you say, that the band all live in different places, when it came to actually making the forthcoming album, how much of that process was actually with all four of you in the room together?
So after Contribution Zero, we played some live shows, a few live shows in Paris in 2022 mostly. And basically, since we rehearse together like once a month, not more, all the rest is remote work, we really focused on these shows, and we did not write so many songs in 2021 and 2022. And then we decided at the end of 2022 to really focus on songwriting. And in 2023, all our sessions were dedicated to songwriting. So, of course, there was some part of the songwriting that was done much before that. We had some ideas, lots of risks, but we spent long afternoons, long Sunday afternoons, having sessions, the four of us, at Ben's place, you know, with the Jam Hub. I don't know if you've heard of Jam Hub, you know.
No, I haven't heard of Jam Hub. What's that?
It's just a sound table, a mix table where you plug in your instrument, and everybody has headphones, and you can play in your apartment without bothering your neighbors.
Okay.
And this,
how does that work with the drums?
Electronic drums.
Okay.
Yeah, Ben has electronic drums at home, and so we had long sessions, and that was very interesting. It makes a huge difference between Contribution Zero and U De Fas. It's that sessions gave the opportunity to Val and Ben to reinforce their input into songwriting. And we spent lots of time working on basic riff ideas that Julien had most of the time, or I had. And they were just saying, okay, but let's change the structure of the song. Let's add this part that is more groovy, and we worked a lot like that. We did not rehearse in rehearsal rooms like we do usually with huge amps and blowing our ears out with rock and roll. We were really focused on that songwriting process, and the layout was that we at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, we had those titles for U De Fas that we worked on, and then we started to go back to the Contribution Zero process, where everybody recorded their own parts by their own, and we had those demos, those pre-production tracks, and once they were ready, we said, okay, we're ready now. We know our limits with our small laptops and our small instruments, or our virtual amps instruments, and let's try to take it to a normal studio with a good sound engineer, and let's see how it goes. And we put some our savings in that, and we're very happy with the results, because probably you imagine that we were going to talk about the process in the studio later on, but I must really pay a huge tribute to Francis Cast, who recorded our album, and really he done an outstanding job.
Yeah, well, I was going to say as well, aside from the playing and the songwriting and the energy, I think it sounds great as well. So yeah, if most of the credit, or if a lot of the credit needs to go to to who was recording it, that's fine. But yeah, it does sound really cool. The impact and the tone of the instruments as well. There's a couple of things following on from what you said there that I wanted to get into. Sure. One of the things I'm sort of curious about is like, there were a few different bands you mentioned there that make total sense. Like, listening to the album, I do think of At the Drive-In from time to time, and Blood Brothers and Brainiac totally make sense from that perspective, the kind of like the controlled chaos of kind of like, you know, like harnessing a storm. And you mentioned Sonic Youth as well. That was actually one of the first reference points that I thought when I first listened to the album. And I grew up a huge Sonic Youth fan, so that kind of like underpinned a lot of my sort of alternative rock, noise rock tastes. But one of the things I was thinking is that, and I saw this in the press release, and you mentioned this, that you're the rhythm guitar versus the lead guitar player. And I was thinking, when I listen to your music, I have a similar sort of thing when I'm listening to like Fugazi or I'm listening to Sonic Youth. To me, it's like it's all lead guitar playing. Like it's harder for like I have a very kind of like traditional sense when I think of writing guitar music. It's like you've got chords, you might do arpeggios, and then you can have some leads over the top. So for you, is it always a clear distinction between rhythm and lead? Like what for you is the cutoff point between the two?
Well, in fact, it has not been as distinctive for a long time in the early Zir Pachet years, and it's one of the critics that we were told when we played our first shows is that okay, all the guitars are all mixed all around, and I was playing solos, and we defined, I think it came naturally, but I really wanted to focus on rhythm and Julian on lead. It came, it came step by step, year by year, and in fact. You mentioned Sonic Youth or other things, but I have in mind AC/DC. Obviously, we don't sound as AC/DC, but
Yeah.
one of my reference, I realized very recently that the most important, one of the key elements in AC/DC was Malcolm Young, because he has that rhythmic that is probably very simple, but it's very basic, and he carries almost the rest of the music. And I'm really thinking about that. And in the studio, moreover, I have almost no effects. I have almost no pedals. It's just my guitar and in a big Marshall, and I think I have a little overdrive pedal, and that's it. And Julian has like thousands of pedals and putting delay all over the place and things like this. We need to channel him sometimes on the on the use of pedals. But that would be our reference. We found our balance like this, and also there is because we all live in separate parts of France, and it's also sometimes complicated to have some rehearsals together. Julian also, well, I mean, we rehearsed also several times, only the three of us with Ben and Val, and really to solidify all the rhythmic parts and everything. And we realized that it was working well. And then Julian comes with his leads, his chaos, his strange effects, and he's the ornamentation of all of that.
Yeah.
So that's how we found our balance between rhythmic and lead guitars.
No, it does make a lot of sense. And, as soon as I said to me, like, Fugazi is all lead, I thought that's really not true. It's more, I guess, that within that kind of like post-punk, post-hardcore noise rock realm, a lot of the rhythms that get played on guitar are quite kind of angular, and they don't fit the kind of like very standard traditional kind of rhythm guitar that we might think of like 70s, 80s rock. I mean, like AC/DC, for example. But yeah, I totally see what you mean. There's definitely a focus on rhythm within there. It's not two different lead guitar parts weaving in and out of each other necessarily. So thinking then about the timeline that got you to the album. So I was wondering, when I saw that the EP came out in 2021, and you mentioned the fact that you did play some live shows around that, how much of an impact did COVID have on you?
Well, in fact, I guess the impact was more limited than for other bands because we were very used to remote work, and even before the COVID crisis. So I guess the biggest impact is that just after Contribution Zero was released, we didn't have the opportunity to play live shows.
Yeah.
So for that time, in fact, the beginning of the songwriting for U De Fas was during 2021, where we continued sending memos to one another and trying to work on different. I think you have 3 or 4 songs on the album that were almost ready by the end of 2021, and that we just worked on together, and others were built after that. So I would say, fortunately for us, the impact was quite limited because we were already used to that kind of workflow.
Yeah. And what is the meaning of the album title?
It has no meaning, and that's that's made on purpose. U De Fas is you would need to ask Julian about that, but when we are thinking about our songs, when we are writing our songs, you will find that all throughout the album there are very few power chords, and we always try to make strange. We really like strange chords and things that are a little bit dissonant and or even more melodic, but very rich in a very rich way. And we have very limited knowledge of musical theory. All of us, except for Val. Val is a pure musician. He plays in jazz bands, and but Julien and I have really limited knowledge. And these chords is like, okay, I play this chord. What kind of chord is it? And nobody can name it. So U De Fas is like a tribute to this process. Like it's like an invented chord or a chord from a parallel universe. And in fact, there's a chord that we use a lot throughout the album. I think it's A sus2 or A sus4. I think I don't really know what that means, but you can find it in several songs. But since we have no clue exactly what the chord is, what the name of the chord is, we said, okay, this is like musical theory from a parallel universe.
I like it. I think that's really cool.
That makes sense.
No, it makes total sense.
Okay, great.
It's funny with what you said, A sus2 or A sus4. What I visualize with that is something that I have a tendency, I've noticed, to do with guitar playing, is that I'll play like a bar chord with the B string and the E string open, so it has this sort of droning sound to it, and I do that way too often. But it's just kind of like my go-to thing is just like, oh, this adds a certain kind of texture that it doesn't otherwise have.
Similarly, I always play in D drop. So it leaves lots of spaces for open chords. And it's true that that's part of our sound, at least the rhythmic guitar sounds. I've been playing drop D for like 20 years now.
Right. Okay.
When I discovered Deftones, hey, power chords are very easy now. So I stuck into that, and that's the result today.
And you talked about the recording of the latest album. So what sort of experience did you have before that in terms of like professional recording studios? Because you mentioned that you've had other projects as well before this band.
Well, that was really limited experience. Also, I had a band before. We recorded a 3-track EP like in 2014. But that was it. I spent during my whole life, I spent like 2 days in studio before that experience. And most of our experience comes from what we do ourselves with our laptop and GarageBand, virtual amps, and things like this. So it was quite a discovery, and I think the others had no experience as well. I think Valentin had a little bit of it, but that was more. He was working in a studio, but for cinema. So he was familiar with some tools that were used in the musical studio, but we didn't have much experience. We went. We entered the studio just like this, we had no idea how it would work and what the outcome would be. But it was a fantastic experience. I think what we did properly, without knowing it, is that we entered the studio very well prepared.
Yeah, we
had worked for months and months on our songs, even when they were ready, even when the structure were settled, we had already played them a lot. We all worked hard on our own before entering the studio, and I think that was really great because we never were too much behind schedule in the studio, and that left us some spare time to experiment and to add lots of little things. At the end of the guitar sessions, Julien had one entire day, one pedal day just for him. And he experimented. He added so many stuff in the mix. We did not keep all of it. But we had time to really try some things. Francis, the sound engineer, also at one point gave us a theremin, that thing with the antenna, and we even added some theremin stuff in that are very in the background of the mix. But we had time to do such things. Also, when I recorded all the vocal parts, it was great. And Francis gave us really precious advice at that time. Well, me when I was recording, he was like, "Okay, we've done 2 takes, and I guess I have all I need for the mix. Now just try and shout the lyrics all throughout the songs." I was not expecting that at all, but he kept some bits of it in the mix, and in fact, the outcome was there are lots of little details and things in the mix that are interesting, and the result is really above what we expected at first when we entered the studio. On the other side, because we had no experience, and I think, and once again, Francis saved us on that, is that it's true that when we entered the studio, we had no clear idea about what the mix would sound at the end or should sound at the end. He asked us, "What do you think it should sound like?" And Julian and I were sending, like, at the drive-in tracks. Ben, who has lots of gent influences, he sent things of Meshuggah and the band called 22 and Vola and Lepros, like very well produced drums. And Francis found himself like, "Whoa, guys! One part of the band wants really garage stuff, and the other one wants a hyper clean production. So where's the balance between that?" And this is true that it's a part of the thinking about the album that we did not have because we did not have this experience. Hopefully, he caught up the whole thing, and we're happy with the global mix. But for next time, we will know that we also need to prepare this aspect as well of the recording.
Yeah, interesting. Oh, I was going to ask you, I mean, I think you've partly answered this question already, but thinking about the kind of novelty of going and recording in a recording studio and kind of, bringing in the topic of making DIY music not being particularly enriching. So it's like, I talk to a lot of bands that are making music on an independent level, and I think there's a lot of people having to fund their own music and then trying to find ways that they can actually get some revenue back from it. So I can imagine that in the situation you're in, you've been preparing this music for a while, you decided you wanted to make this professionally recorded album, you were putting your own money into it. I would imagine that there was kind of some pressure from your point of view in terms of, like, we know we only have a limited amount of money, we only have a limited amount of time, or because you were so well prepared, did you not really feel that pressure so much?
We felt a little bit of pressure, but in fact, what I'm going to say might shock you and your listeners, but the approach we have of music is quite selfish. We make music to have fun. We make music because we want to have some music to listen to as listeners that we like. And in fact, if any other band recorded U De Fas and I was discovering it, I would love it, and I would be very happy to have discovered such an album. And that's really our main approach. In the band, none of us are professional musicians. We all have jobs besides and families, and it's really basically a hobby. We're amateurs, and also all of us have the same expectations towards Zir Pachet. Nobody imagines make a living with that band, and it's really not the purpose of that band. Hopefully, on the other side, everybody has quite a level of motivation that makes the project having results, and we're really happy about that. What I was saying after the studio sessions is that even if the record was never released, I was already happy to pay just for the experience with Francis in a professional studio because, I'm passionate about music, and it was so great to spend almost a month with him working on those details and seeing how things work, and that's fantastic. So already each step we're very satisfied of. We in 2022 we opened for fantastic bands, for Buñuel, which is the side project of Eugene Robinson's Oxbow.
I have, I've interviewed them twice. I've interviewed Oxbow. I've interviewed Eugene separately. I've talked to Eugene a lot of times.
I saw the video actually. I saw the video. We also opened for Foley Group. You heard of Folly Group? They're
Oh, I don't think so.
they're an English band. They're you should check them out. They're fantastic. They're a little bit like Squid or Black Midi,
Okay, cool.
and they're really a fantastic band. And I listen to Folly Group a lot, and we were so happy to open for them. It's like, you're a little kid and you're passionate about I don't know, whatever passion you may have, and you're just in the situation where you can really live it, and we're really happy about that. Also, after Contribution Zero, we had a very nice article, a very nice review of our article in New Noise magazine, which is the reference in France, and the joke between the members of Zir Pachet until then was, once New Noise magazine writes 3 lines on us, we can split. We're happy with that. So we just take things like they come, and everything is very positive for that. I don't remember the beginning of your question. Did that answer it or not? About the pressure.
Yeah. No. You 100% answered it, and I can completely relate to what you have to say about doing things for the passion. And I think about this as well in terms of what I'm doing, whether it's
Absolutely,
podcasting, music writing, making my own music. And I think to myself, well, on the one hand, like, I do all of this stuff as a hobby. It's like I get to talk to people that make music I like. I get to talk to my musical heroes as well. Like, I have a wish list of the people I want to talk to, and it's like, one by one I get to get them off, and it's like, oh, this is amazing, And sometimes I get paid for this stuff, like a very small amount. So I have kind of like mixed feelings, because I'm totally in it for the passion of it. But on the other hand, I feel like we're in this musical landscape where there are people out there or entities out there that are making huge amounts of money. And it doesn't quite sit right with me that we exist here in our little DIY world, basically generating money for other people. That's the bit that kind of bothers me.
You're absolutely right, and that's why I was saying that I might shock people, saying that we're in a selfish approach, because I know how music industry and music business is hard. In fact, other people who are exactly like you and I are the people from our label, Influenza Records. They do not make money out of it, but they spend so much time working on the promotion of our work, of just releasing albums, making music, and they make no money about it. As Javier says, the boss from Influenza Records, he says music industry is probably the worst industry you can find with a football industry, and I think he's quite right about that. What we've seen at our very small level is we try to press LPs and have LPs released. And we realize how complicated and expensive it is. In France, you have to fill in forms for la SACEM they collect rights, and it's hours and hours of work, and you have to pay. And I mean, if you just do it by yourself, you can't do it properly, because you need basically to be a lawyer to do that. And moreover, we wanted to press CDs, press LPs, sorry, and it takes very long, because and it's very expensive, because major companies have the priority. They buy the catalogs of all AC/DC and Michael Jackson and whatever you want. They buy the rights, and they press the LPs. They make huge volumes, so for them it's least expensive than for independent bands. It takes ages and ages, and it's very expensive. It's for people who are in do-it-yourself music, and the priority is given really to re-editions of LPs. Usually quite poor quality LPs, and then you find it at local supermarkets, and that's very sad. I know, but in a matter of fact, it's the world we live in, so we can't really fight against it. The only weapon we have against this is passion, and just to be satisfied ourselves about what we're doing. I know it's very selfish to say that, but one of my idols is Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
And Frank Zappa, in an interview, I heard him in an interview on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. And he's just back from London, and he just recorded something with a symphonic orchestra in London. And the journalist asked him, you're not going to sell any copies of what you recorded because it's too experimental, and you could do something. Now you have a big name, and out of your name you could make something that is more catchy and easier to listen to. And Frank Zappa answers, no, but you don't understand my approach. My approach is that I have money to do that. I just write music. I play it with a fantastic orchestra that I found out. And now I'm in the US. I have money enough to press my own copy that I will listen to. And if some other people somehow want to listen to it and buy the copy, well, that's fantastic. But that's really not the purpose of it. And I think this is very important. It's taking things not in a common way. You don't think about the project like how I will make money, because that would deteriorate the whole artistic approach. Also, I guess. But we're far from that, because really we're once again a very amateur band. This is hobby. This is just to have fun. This is just to be with friends. And that's most of it. And we're already very satisfied with that. Of course, we would be happy to have lots of listeners on Spotify. And of course, we would like to have thousands of people at our shows. But if we don't, we're already satisfied with what we've done.
Well, there's definitely creative freedom in that. And obviously,
Sure.
like Frank Zappa was at a level where he had a lot of opportunities that most people don't get. I mean, at the same time, he obviously worked to get to that position. But yeah, not feeling like you have some kind of financial result that you have to get to, I think is important in terms of the just being able to have the creative expression without sort of like second guessing yourself of like, oh, if we do this, it's going to have this result.
Absolutely.
We do that, it's going to have that result.
Absolutely. The amount of money that we spent for the studio recording, I always say to my friends, it's like a guy who would be passionate about fishing, and he buys a fantastic, very expensive trip to Canada to just go fish those most amazing trouts and salmons in those uncommon rivers. And he gets back home, he has a once in a lifetime experience, but he will make no money about it. We're kind of the same approach. We have kind of the same approach here.
Yeah. Well, I think also as well, like from that perspective, it's really important that you clearly value the whole process of it. So it's like you're really enjoying everything that you're doing in the process of making the record. It's not just going, we need to have this record and then just focusing on the end result. It's actually paying attention to what the whole experience is like.
Fun is a very important part in music. Well, for me at least, and I guess for the other members of the band as well. I realized that very clearly. One of the best shows I ever attended was Cave in Paris in 2006. I was with Ben, actually. And the show was amazing. I'm a great Cave fan. But moreover, these guys seem to have so much fun on stage. They were okay. The crowd was reacting more or less after the different songs they were playing, but they were having so much fun. I said, I want to do like those guys. They enjoy themselves so much.
Yeah,
that's really important, I think.
And I wanted to ask you something else about the kind of like landscape for artists in France, because a lot of the time I end up talking to bands in the US, but I have interviewed various bands from France, from Germany, from Belgium, Switzerland, various European countries. And I don't remember if this applies with France, but I know that in some continental European countries, there's funding or grants that you can get for musical projects. So have you had any kind of experience with that?
No, not at all. And we did not research any information about that. Really. So I'm sorry, because my answer is very short, but I have not much to say about that.
As the son of a researcher, negative answers are just as important as positive answers.
But that's a little bit what I was telling you about registering the rights for the album.
Yeah.
in France, we like bureaucracy a lot. And
Hmm.
if you want to try and get some grants, basically you need to be a lawyer for that. You need to be assisted by
Mm.
people who are very who know how to read the contracts and the conditions, and it's very complicated. It's lots of time and lots of energy, and this is not at all part of what we were looking for. So we all had some savings by our own. We just said, okay, I can put this amount of money, and you can put this amount of money, and with the total, we checked out 3 or 4 studios, and we decided to work with Francis Casse. But we know it's a money-losing project that we're doing. But once again, that's not the main goal to make
Yeah.
money or things like that. And if we had less money to put in this project, we would have probably turned to a different studio and somebody, a sound engineer who's less experienced. We would have managed something some way else. But it has never been really the most important part of our work.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, it's all part of the DIY ethos, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like you use the
absolutely.
resources that you have, and if you have less
Exactly.
resources, you'll do things in a different way, and that's
Mhm.
fine. It's just a different
Yeah,
path.
yeah, absolutely.
And so now that the album is finished, obviously, like you mentioned, everyone in the band has jobs, you've got families. What are your kind of expectations and plans in terms of what you're now going to do with the band leading up to the release and then once it comes out, whether it's, promotion, playing shows,
Mhm.
etc.?
We're going to already focus on our release party that will take place on the June 7th in Paris. We're going to play with 2 fantastic bands. The first one being a choir. It's a post-rock band, and they're good friends of ours. So we'll be happy to see our friends at that occasion. And we also play with another band that is called Baleine, which is a post-rock band as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing them live because I really, really love what they're doing. And I think it's going to be a great show. So we need to rehearse on that. Afterwards, we're all readers of musical press in France, and we would be very happy if we have some chronicles in the magazines that we are and the webzines that we are used to reading. And afterwards, I don't know. We do not have a definite plan, but what I know for sure is that we really want to go to songwriting again.
Hmm.
Especially with Julian, we are boiling with ideas, and we want to take things to the next level. And I think we might probably play some shows until the end of the year, and then we really want to focus on what could come next in terms of songwriting and thinking about our second LP. That's very important for us. We already have lots of ideas, lots of directions we want to try, um, and we're a little bit fed up rehearsing the same tracks all over and over again. We really want to move to the next step. And if there is a big success with U De Fas, well, fantastic. We'll see what we'll do according to the circumstances. But really, right now, in all of the messages that we send to one another, is like, okay, we really want to spend some time jamming together and finding new ideas
Yeah.
and see what the next step would be in terms of creativity.
Yeah, I guess, that's sort of the other side of putting in the preparation for a recording process is that the more preparation you put into it, the more time you've spent with the music by the time it's finally
Yeah,
finished. And so it comes out and
absolutely.
to the audience, they go like, oh, this is new. But a lot of the time to the people that are making it, they've been doing this for years and they're just like, right, now this is out of the way. I want to do something different. But you still want to be promoting it so it gets the best coverage that it can have.
Of course, of course. It can be sometimes frustrating, but it's part of of music, and we need to
Yeah.
accept it. But it's true that really what we enjoy most is finding ideas and then building the songs together, and we're really looking forward um, to go back to that part of the process.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that the album will be available on the usual streaming services, but for people that want to buy it, so if they, where should they go? So Influencer, I presume, has got a Bandcamp page, and so they can get the different versions of it there. If people go to your Bandcamp page, is that going to then direct them over to the label?
No, they can actually pre-order CDs. And we wanted to have some LPs pressed, but that's out of our budget. So finally, we'll have 9 LPs pressed just for ourselves, and that will be it. So yeah, if people want to buy it, they can check out our Bandcamp. Then probably it will also be on the online shop of our label, Influenza Records, and that will be it. But once again, that's not the most important part of our work, of our musical work.
Yeah. And in terms of like potential shows that are coming up and whatever you're going to be working on next, where is the best place for people to follow the band?
We have only played shows in Paris, and we have nothing scheduled out of there. We would like, but it's complicated to schedule it, but we would like to play also outside of Paris, especially because the audience in Paris and in the rest of France is quite different. People go to shows in Paris just to see a particular band. Whereas I have the feeling that if you are in Lyon or Bordeaux, you have some clubs where people decide to go to the club, and whatever the band is, they're just curious about music. They know there's the music over there, and they just go there to have a drink and hang out. And if the band is good for them, and if the band is not good, it's okay. They will just go smoke cigarettes on the terrace, and they won't listen to the band so much, and it won't be a big deal for anybody. So I think it would be interesting to do that. I have lots of friends in Lyon, and I would really love to play a show over there. I would like to play shows in Montpellier, near I live next to Montpellier in the south of France. I think Bordeaux would be interesting. In Nantes also, there is a big underground audience. And yeah, we'll see basically what opportunities we can find, and what I would also what I would really like is to open for some hero of ours, a huge band that says, okay, I listened to your LP, and it would be great if you could open for us. That would be great. Yeah, to open for some heroes of ours in France or elsewhere.
Yeah. And in terms of announcements of shows, like I tend to think of social media as being like a necessary evil. So I think we connected on Instagram, like, I connected with the band on Instagram. So would that be like the best place in terms of announcements for shows? Sure. I guess on Bandcamp as well, maybe.
Yeah. Bandcamp and Instagram. Yeah, basically that's that's where we communicate most. Nobody's much on Facebook anymore. Yeah, and also you can follow our label, Influenza Records. They do a great job, and they post news regularly, and they follow closely the bands for which they release the albums, and they're doing great work, very precious work as well.
Nice, good point. Well, Thibault,
that's it.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure, Tom. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time, and I hope the album gets a great reception when it comes out. And I will be, I'll be looking with interest to see updates of shows, and hopefully you get the opportunity to play with some of your heroes in the not too distant future.
For Sonic Youth, for instance. We never know.
We never know, exactly. Who knows what can come in the future? Thibault, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Tom, and all the best for whatever comes next.